we need to start looking at data differently. You need to start visualizing your data. You want to make your data accessible to people. I went around the mechanical engineering department in Trinity telling people in the thermal sciences department that they were visualizing thermal camera data the wrong way.
Rudi, thank you very much for coming in to me.
Thanks, Mark.
I don't know when was the OpenAI event that we were down
I think
Smart
we met
Dublin?
nearly a year ago. We met at the OpenAI event at the, where was it? CHQ building. Yeah, about a year ago we met each other for the first time.
Isn't it incredible that in the space of a year, everything that I was wowed about is so blasé, and now you're on this kind of new world of options and availability, and these Chinese models have now come in that are kind of putting a cat among the pigeons, where previously it was just these kind of 2 or 3 main players. It's kind of crazy in the space of 12 months. It's just so accessible, right? Because these companies need users. So they're doing everything they possibly can to get people to be involved. The challenge is an awful lot of it's in beta. So you are the product kind of feature in terms of you're trying to give that feedback. So it's a difficult one. Tell me a little bit about how you got into this world of data viz. Were you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or did it just happen, or what happened there?
Yeah, thanks. So I set up my business, which is called Data&Design, 2.5 years ago. And really what it's about bringing data to life. So I've always been quite visually inclined. I was actually a mechanical engineer to begin with. I went around the mechanical engineering department in Trinity telling people in the thermal sciences department that they were visualizing thermal camera data the wrong way. These kind of standard thermal camera maps aren't that effective in certain scenarios. A lot of the journals where we'd be doing work are printed in black and white. And once you print these in black and white, it becomes invisible. You can't actually see the trends. It becomes misleading. So I've always been visually inclined. I've always liked a bit of code. But I did study mechanical engineering. I always joke that mechanical engineering is for people who can't make up their mind what they want to study because it's so broad. Eventually, I kind of found my way back into data. Again, this is in 2019. It was before ChatGPT, so I would actually spend my time writing cover letters for companies and then getting rejected because I didn't exactly have the particular data science experience, whether it was k-means clustering, NLP at the time. But what I found was I kind of discovered this field called data visualization and realized that this is an area that combined journalism, storytelling, and it was an area that I was actually qualified in. And I started working there in the DOC, which is Accenture's Global Centre for Innovation. I was there 2.5 years visualizing data for a lot of their clients. And it started picking up so much traction internally that I said, okay, there's enough here for me to go out myself with the business. So that's what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years.
I love the way that kind of golden thread has kind of come true. And the doc has had so many incredible people. It's just been a hotbed for doing wonderful work, but also the people that have left there and then gone on to different, more exciting kind of journeys. It's wonderful to have that in the island of Ireland. Tell us a little bit about working with Dublin City Council, Smart Cities, a day in Dublin. How did that come about?
Yeah, so a lot of my work since I started my business has been focused on public sector because a huge part of this is trying to tell people we need to start looking at data differently. You need to start visualizing your data. You want to make your data accessible to people. In doing that, I really want to work with public sector because I want to be an advocate for open data in Ireland. So I've been looking to partner with Kildare County Council, Dublin City Council, and I'm really looking for innovative partners there that are really interested in this type of technology. So Smart Dublin have been incredible to that regard, and we've worked together on a variety of different projects, visualizing data on things like tourism. Recently, one's just come out visualizing active travel in Dublin. But where the work started with Dublin City Council and OpenAI, that this started on the back of Smart Dublin and Dublin City Council winning the designation of the European Capital of Smart Tourism. So that was won late 2023. So for 2024, Dublin was a European Capital of Smart Tourism. And that led to meetings and conversations between that team and OpenAI. And then OpenAI at the time were opening their office in Dublin. And they said, wouldn't it be great to have like a demo at this event, which is when Mark and I met last February. At the same time, OpenAI had released at their demo day the previous November, so November 23, had released this demo called Wanderlust. So Wanderlust was like an AI travel companion, and they demoed it with Paris. So you go in, you chat to this AI, and it gives you things, recommendations of things to do in Paris. And it also showcased some other things like ingesting PDFs and stuff like that. But we looked at that core kind of, that core vision of giving you an itinerary for Paris. But when we looked at what ChatGPT was doing at the time, and it's moved along a lot since, it was kind of giving the Paris equivalent to coming to Dublin and going to the Guinness Storehouse and then going to Temple Bar and then, hitting those main tourist spots. And there's nothing wrong with that per se. But a lot of these destination management organizations or DMOs are really trying to see how can we get people away from those busiest tourist attractions and into other areas. So the ask was put to me, can we create this demo that we can use OpenAI's products to create this, to kind of recreate Wanderlust for Dublin, but also do it with Dublin specific data. So we actually get local insights and local recommendations based on what the person wants. So we kind of demoed it in February. And then the second part of that Dublin City Council OpenAI partnership was this event for those DMOs, these people from other destinations across Europe. So they came in September, and that's when I kind of showed them the newer version of A Day in Dublin, which is now available. So please check it out at adayindublin.com.
What I've been so impressed with was, how user friendly you've made it, and how you've kind of understood that kind of user experience where we have to be engaged, it has to be simple to use, and we have to just kind of get it. Was that a challenge to try to figure that out? How did you kind of go on that journey?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So like again, in my career, I've collaborated with a lot of UX designers, a lot of service designers, a lot of my data visualization projects in general are thinking about how will people interact with this in an intuitive way. So the Day in Dublin project, it doesn't have as much data visualization as some of my other work. It's quite, standard from a data viz perspective, but I wanted to make sure the user flow was fun. And with these things, so what we're doing is we're using AI to kind of have a chat with you and understand your preferences. Then we're kind of matching those preferences with thousands of different attractions, events, restaurants across Dublin. But there's a balancing act here because you don't want this AI chatbot talking to you for ages. Like, people want to give, and there's a real kind of Goldilocks problem here because you want to give enough information to the AI for it to get you something that's really bespoke and specific, yet you don't want to be talking to this AI for a long time as well. So that was very much something that took a lot of user testing out into the flow and things like that. And some of OpenAI's products were extremely useful for this. So for example, in their API, they have something called function calling. I won't go into the details with it, but basically I don't need to say to the AI, to program in the different chat messages it needs. I just say to it, have a chat with this person and only continue to the next bit when you know where they're staying, what kind of food do they like, what kind of activities do they like, and what's the purpose of their trip. So I don't need to program anything in there. The AI kind of looks after that for me. And then when it's gathered that information, it then comes to me and says, okay, I'm ready to create this itinerary. So that was really helpful in kind of streamlining that process.
Please give me 30 seconds of your time. It blows my mind that only 9% of listeners actually subscribe to our podcast. I'm going to ask you one favor. If you like and enjoy this podcast, please can you subscribe? That one thing will really, really help us and the team get you the very, very best guests. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. When you have, I suppose, a moment to breathe, what kind of aspirations would you have or vision for the rest of our country that we could start to use this?
I think a huge part of this, of creating this demo, was even educating people on what search is even going to be like in the age of AI. So I'll give you an example using pizza. So I love pizza, right? And so let's say, for example, you're having a chat with this AI chatbot, and you say that you like pizza and you like casual ambience when you're dining. Our AI model will then look at the different pizzerias around Dublin. I'll pick a few, for example. Let's say Sano's, Bambino Pizza, Pie Pizza, Lucky's, for example. Just pulled four at random. One thing to bear in mind here is that what we're doing and how this search is happening behind the scenes is that we are pulling data from the websites of each of these. We've got Falter Ireland have released this data set of 2,000 different attractions. So we use that information for the websites. We also use the Google API to pull in things from Google reviews. The question that I'd have would be like, how do we know what the right match for Mark actually is? Like our AI and the issue with some of these AI systems is they will always give us an answer. So for example, if you say you like pizza and casual dining, it might recommend Sano. But why has it actually recommended Sano pizza for you versus Little Pig pizza versus Pie pizza? And it's often really, really subtle. So the way like we've been kind of set up for SEO until now, trying to make sure we've got lots of links out into our websites, all these different things. I think what we're going to see now is this AI based search engine optimization where people are putting out long form content about their businesses and hoping that will create these matches. So something that I've really been thinking about for creating these tools is not only creating these things that people can use, but also thinking about the learnings. Like, and trying to, like, it's been something that I tried to bring into this prototype was introducing this element of randomness. So rather than telling the AI what's the best restaurant for Mark, I might say something like, if the top five are good enough, pick one of those at random, so that we don't get this scenario where, it's what the same pizza place is being recommended to you every time. And you could say, well, if I give it enough information, if it knows all about the types of pizza I like the Neapolitan pizza style, I like it in this scenario, I like this scenario, then maybe then that AI based search will give you what you want. But I think the learnings from this, like I spent a long time in creating this, trying not to play God, in that trying to be as unbiased and impartial as possible. But in doing so, I found myself having to put the thumb on the scale a little bit. So, and I can give some more examples if you like, but really to answer your question, I see it both as having people use these tools and platforms like this, but also understanding where these AI models are really strong and where they can sometimes be misleading. And I think the way they can be misleading is that they'll always give an answer.
Yeah, and I think what we also have to kind of understand is, particularly my kids, is that I would regularly be texting, right? And I've said my first of January, I've said my New Year's resolution is I'm going to be using voice,
Yeah.
right? Get rid of that neck where I'm literally just always constantly doing it, right? And what you find is that kids will just naturally just talk into it. Don't need to do types. They'll do it. And more these models are so helpful when you're earphones, you're driving your car, where you're engaging with them, you're talking with them. I can see in the next few years how people will just start to gravitate to a different type of user experience than what they've previously done, because the expectation is it's just a simpler, nicer way to engage. But unless you do take that bias out or be cognizant of it, it's just going to get worse and worse.
100%.
And the thing about recommendation engines, and this is probably just spending time with the top people that build them, is you want something that's interesting to you, but different than before, but just enough different to keep you interested rather than kind of way off. So that's it's just kind of subtle nuances to allow you then to have that personalized experience, but also exciting that it's going to be something a little bit new.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of parallels with like Spotify, how they'll try and taste breakers, or they'll stick in, they'll have you're on a playlist, all the songs you like, and they'll squeeze in one or two that are maybe more kind of out there and see how you kind of gravitate towards that. But going back to your interface, you're talking about your children using it. That's actually like a lot of work I've been doing of experimentation the last 6 months is thinking about data visualization as an interface itself. So for a lot of these AI tools, including A Day in Dublin, how we communicate with these tools is through a chatbot, right? And we're so used to seeing these chatbots everywhere. And I've been thinking to myself, does it always have to be a chatbot? And especially that we have these models that can recognize drawings and motion. So a lot of my work is very interactive. So I've been doing some AI experiments around, can we, rather than having a chatbot interface, can we actually have a data visualization? And what does it mean to communicate with an AI through a visualization itself, whether you're moving circles around the screen, whether you're drawing commands? And I think this could be a really useful medium for storytelling, especially with children, where we're drawing things and communicating through more playful avenues.
But also people who are neurodiverse
100%.
or want to engage in a different types of way. And as you kind of get older, you start to figure out that people actually see things in a completely different way, and we all have blind spots to that. Rudi, how can people find out a little bit more about you? And also, let's give a plug for your fantastic meetup.
Yeah, so thanks very much. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm normally posting. I joke that I've had to become a little bit of a LinkedIn influencer in looking for business. My business is called Data&Design. So hopefully searching that business, there'll be links in this, but hopefully searching this will give you will give me as a number one option for that. In addition to that, I'm really interested in getting people playing around with data. That's really my, really what I see my job in. And when I lecture in Dublin Business School, I'm also very keen to get my students playing with open source Irish data, because I think that's super important. So in class, we look at those Dublin bikes that are going around the city, and we kind of explore that and create business dashboards with that data set. The other part, like you said there, is I'm also trying to kind of build up that community of data visualization in Dublin. So last week, I launched Dublin Data Viz, which is a meetup group, free meetup group for people who are interested in telling stories with data, data journalists, designers, anyone who's interested with data as a medium. So if you just go on meetup.com, Dublin Data Viz, you can follow me on LinkedIn, or you can reach out through dataanddesign.ie.
Brilliant. All the links are going there, and we're going to be able to weave in what we said into that. And thank you so much for coming in to do the show today. I'm sure it's going to be one of many.
Thanks, Mark.
Hello, my name is Mark Kelly, founder of AI Ireland. We're passionate about collaboration and sharing the incredible stories behind every AI journey. That's why we're always looking for guests to join our in-person AI Ireland podcast experience. If you're working on innovative AI projects or have a story that can inspire others, we want to hear from you. This is your chance to share your insights, experiences, and ideas with a really vibrant community that's as excited about AI as you are. So if you're ready to be part of this conversation and help shape the future of AI in Ireland, please get in touch today. We can't wait to collaborate with you. Thank you.